Hello, welcome back to the channel. Matt Osborne from MrLeica.com. Today's video will be slightly different. I'm not reviewing a particular gear item as such. I'm going to give you my film photographer's checklist and 7 things to consider packing before going away on your next photography trip. With the lockdown now starting to lift in many countries, you may be getting to that point where you want to take a trip and go on vacation and obviously take your camera if you're watching this video. This video will let you consider some of the things that I think about when packing for a photography vacation, whether it's overseas or in the UK. Obviously the big core elements which relate to most photographers, and then depending on your niche of photography, whether it's landscape photography or super lightweight travel photography or portraiture, you'll then need more of certain items and less of other items. Personally, my trip involved both portraiture and travel photography, so I had to cater for both. This video will do one of 2 things. It'll either show you how complicated my life is and what not to do, or it will show you how beautifully simple your life is and what is possible with less equipment. But I'm going to come at it from my angle, which is take more rather than less. So I've tried to break down my packing list for a photography trip into roughly 7 categories, and I'll go through each of those in turn. So obviously number 1, the first thing you're going to need is the camera. Now if you've planned a very special once in a lifetime holiday, in my mind you really do need to strongly consider what cameras you're taking. I'm coming at this video from film photography. So if you're a digital shooter, photographer watching this video, yes, some things may still relate to you, but a lot of things are more film photography specific. But either way, it'll kind of let you realise how simple digital photography is compared to film photography. So I guess the first point, regardless of whether you're digital or film, if you're going on a really important once in a lifetime trip, you cannot take, in my mind, one camera, because if that camera fails, you are, for better words, screwed, I guess. Because you might be out in, I don't know, Grand Canyon or some amazing place around the world where you're doing some kind of trip where there's no shops nearby. Yes, if you're shooting in the middle of New York or London, closer to home for me, you'll be able to find a shop and you can buy another camera. But if you're out in doing safari or whatever, you need to take everything with you because there's not going to be a shop around the corner. You can just pop into B&H or go online and get something ordered from Amazon to replace the camera that might fail. So first things first for me is definitely take more than one camera body. And then coming at this from a personal and film photography angle, I prefer to take my main camera and my backup camera as cameras which will take interchangeable lenses. So for example, if I was using a small Leica camera such as this Leica 2F, I'm not showing this camera before. If I'm using a Leica 35mm as my main camera, and then I want a backup camera, I might take something larger, say a medium format Mamiya 7, which both came with me on the last trip. I selected both of these cameras partly because they're interchangeable lens cameras. What that means is you can obviously take the lens off and put other lenses on. Why is this important for me? It's important because I'll use normally a 3-lens setup for my main cameras, that being a wide, a normal and a telephoto. For the LTM mount to Leica, I was using a 21mm as my wide, a 50 is my normal, this one. But then I was also using other 35mm camera bodies. One of them is an M-mount body, which is a Bessa T, and that lets me use a 25mm Biogon, 50mm and 90mm macro Elmar collapsible. So that was my 3-lens setup for Leica 35mm cameras. And then for medium format, if I was using that as my main camera, I could again use, say, the 50, which is on the camera here, as my wide. And then I don't use the 80, but if you had an 80, you could use the 80 as your standard lens. And then perhaps a 150 or a 210. I took the 210 as my long lens. So first thing, once you've got the camera, pick a camera which takes interchangeable lenses, not a fixed lens camera, because for me personally, if I had a 50mm fixed lens camera, I'd be really struggling all the time. Sometimes I'd want to go longer and sometimes I'd see wider. Most of the time I see wider, especially for kind of landscape photography. I see kind of 21, 25, 28mm kind of view when I'm walking around. So I try not to use fixed lens cameras, such as my TLR, say Rolleicord, or my Voigtlander Perkio 2. Both of those are fixed lens cameras. Both very good, but they weren't giving me enough variety. and they won't give me a wide lens option. So try to have your main camera and backup camera with interchangeable lenses and ideally the same lens mount. I was using more than the 2 cameras I just showed you, so perhaps not a very good example, but ideally you'd take one set of lenses to fit on multiple camera bodies. So for example, I could be using my digital like M240 is my main digital camera for models, my Leica CL is my backup camera for models, and then like M-mount lenses which fit both camera systems. And then to take it further, I could then shoot say like M3 or a Voigtlander Bessa T M-mount film bodies like M6 film bodies to then use the same lenses again. So I could have one set of lenses and potentially 4 cameras. I could have like the Leica M6 loaded with colour film. I could have the Leica M3 or the Bessa T loaded with black and white film. And then obviously 2 digital bodies, one as my main, one as a backup. So that's kind of your main do everything cameras. Now if you're into your film photography, depending on what you're going to photograph, you may have a special camera which is really suited to one particular niche of photography. So for example, I had the Mamiya 7 set up with a pano adapter. I'll do this in a future video. I'm excited to see the results. I've not seen them yet from the latest trip. I wanted to shoot pano for landscapes, so I took the Mamiya 7, and then I also wanted to do really high resolution portraits. So for that reason I took my Hasselblad H2 with a 120 macro lens, which is like crazy sharp lens on a great camera, and then pair that with a good model, and safe to say I'm excited to see the results. But I guess what I'm getting at is my main cameras for like my do everything cameras, quite nice, and then I had my high-end portrait camera, and then I had my special effect, however you want to call it, high-end medium format camera. So I was doing panos with my medium format, I was doing super sharp headshots with my H2 Hasselblad, and then everything else I was doing with my main camera and backup camera, if you want to call it that, whether it's film or digital. I was shooting 35mm as my main cameras, meaning I could shoot more shots, better economy, whatever you want to call it. And then for special photos, I then used medium format, either for landscape or for portraits. So that's the complicated world I live in, that I make for myself. So that's cameras. Number 2 we've already touched on, which is lenses. Lenses, I tried to take a wide, a normal and a telephoto, so 3 lens setup. You may then also have special effects lenses if you use vintage equipment like myself. So I then took a few additional lenses to kind of play around with, which may be kind of soft, low contrast vintage lenses to give flare effect or to give nice bokeh in the background or that kind of thing. So I had my core lenses which I could rely on for kind of, if it was client work, I'd use them for client work, super sharp, really decent lenses. Bygone 25, Voigtlander Helios 50 3.5. I still need to do reviews on these. And then the amazing super compact macro Elmar M 90mm f4. All of those are really sharp and should all give really good images. So that's lenses. And then number 3, we're getting more film specific. If you're shooting black and white film or even colour film, you'll really benefit from using filters. I use filters less in day-to-day work with my portraits because I don't feel I often like the look of a yellow filter, for example, for the models that I photograph. So I often shoot with no filters for portraits. But as soon as I shoot landscapes, like, filters make such a huge difference. And part of the reason I'm doing this video is because I forgot half the kit I was supposed to take with me. So this is to kind of remind me at the same time. So I'm sure you know what filters are. You get them in greens, reds, blues, every shape and size. And I'll come on to that aspect in a second. Circular polarizing filters, which I forgot on this trip. Really important for landscape photography to really, especially on blue sky days like what I was shooting in when I was away last week. So I forgot that. And then another important filter you probably want to consider, more for videographers but also for landscape photographers, if you're trying to say blur water or something like that, is something like a 10-stop ND filter. So this is a K&F Concept 10-stop ND filter, which I bought for video, but I can use it for photos as well. So I guess if you're on a quick checklist, colour filters for black and white photography, circular polarizing filter, ND filters that can be either a grad, a graduated filter where it's dark at the top, lighter at the bottom, meaning you put the dark bit on the sky and the clear bit on the ground to even the exposure. I don't use those that often, but they're really important if you say shoot slide film. And then even for colour photography, if you shoot colour film, you can get filters to kind of colour correct. So you can get like the warming filters or the cooling filters. 80C I think it is, and 81B for a warming filter. That's a really popular filter if you shoot, say, Cinestill 800T, the 81B warming filter. Filters are good regardless of black and white or colour, but for me personally, they're particularly important for black and white film. And then once you have your filters, what you may then find is they don't fit your lens. So say you've got a 52mm filter thread on your lens and you've got a 67mm filter. For that reason, I have many step rings. So what these basically do is you have a, for example, this is a 52mm filter. I think I got it free with something. 52mm Hoya filter. So let's just pretend I was using a 49mm lens and a 52mm filter. All I do is take a 49 to 52mm step ring. It's about £2, £3 on eBay. And that allows you to use then one filter on 5 different lens sizes, as long as you have the 5 different step rings to go with it. So as a general rule, buy filters as large as your largest filter thread lens, and then use step rings to put them onto smaller lenses. It's a much cheaper way of doing it. Okay, so that's filters. So next, film. Now I probably overcomplicate this like I do with everything for the way I shoot, and I'm sure some people will just buy one film stock and they'll just take one film stock on their vacation and they don't have to worry about it. Just a whole pile of one brick of Kodak T-Max 100 or 400, whatever their preferred choice is. Portra 400. Personally, as you probably know, I shoot 99% black and white film, but occasionally I have the urge to shoot colour. So for that reason, I take colour film and black and white film. And then to complicate things even more, because of the UK weather, some days like today might be really overcast. You can see it's really dark in here. And then next minute the sun will come out and you'll see me go overexposed in the video. For that reason, it's really difficult to plan what film to take. So I'll often try to take, say, some ISO 100 film, and then some perhaps ISO 400 or ISO 800 film, both for colour and black and white. Well, more for colour. For black and white, I'll shoot, say, 100 speed Foma. Foma Pan is my go-to film for 120 and 35mm. It's cheap and I like the results. And then perhaps something like Ilford Pan 400 or any other ISO 400 speed film, just so I've got a bright conditions film and a overcast day film. And then because I'm shooting medium format and 35mm, I need to then take film stocks for both sets of cameras. So you then need to plan out how much you think you're going to shoot each day and how long is your vacation and what the weather forecast is looking like, and look at, say, Google Images to try and get an idea of, yes, the colours in this particular place are stunning. I want to shoot colour, blue skies and sandy beaches perhaps. Might give you the thought you want to shoot colour, or perhaps grey location with mountains or grey buildings. You might want to shoot black and white. But I tried to think of all of this before the trip and then pack accordingly more film for, say, black and white, or more film for overcast days. Say, when I shoot in Europe in the winter months for, say, Poland or Hungary, I'll often pack mostly ISO 400 black and white film, because ISO 100 often doesn't cut it in the low light conditions that we often get in Europe. So once you've chosen your favourite film stocks, I then try to consider, make sure you've got films for the cameras you're taking. Obviously, there's no point taking a 4x5 camera if you don't pack any 4x5 film. Obviously, try to predict to take enough film and a bit extra so you don't run out mid-shoot. It'd be a terrible situation to perhaps be in, I don't know, the Grand Canyon, as I said earlier, and then you run out of slide film or Ektar or whatever colour film or black and white film you're shooting, and it might be a once-in-a-lifetime trip, and it just like eats me up inside to not be able to then take the pictures because I didn't take enough film with me. So I always try and overpack, even if I have to bring some film back. And then, as I said, carry at least one camera body in case camera one stops in the dry conditions, the cold conditions, or for whatever other reason it wants to suddenly stop. So that's film. Now, using vintage cameras, sometimes you need a lot more accessories and extras than you may need with a modern camera. What I mean by this is, for example, vintage lenses often flare more easily than modern lenses. So for that reason, I tried to pack lens hoods, such as this lens on this Canon 51.8 here. So I tried to pack a lens hood which will fit multiple lenses, and then that lets me take less lens hoods. As you've probably seen in previous videos, I don't use lens hoods that often, but if I know a lens will suffer without a lens hood, I will take a lens hood. And then again, if you're using weird and wonderful cameras like I use, you may need to take external viewfinders. This Voigtlander Besta T, which I need to show in a proper review, has no viewfinder. So for that reason, you need to make sure you pack viewfinders that match the lens. So a common use of external viewfinders is, say, wide lenses on a Leica M film camera. So for example, if I'm using a 21mm Coloscopa or Biogon on a Leica M6 or any M film camera, I need to use my 21mm Voigtlander finder. So I need to make sure to remember to pack the viewfinders when I pack the lens. So I have the lens, and then I think, do I need a lens hood? Do I need an external viewfinder? So tick, tick, tick. And then next you need the basics, depending on the type of photography you're photographing. If your camera doesn't have a built-in light meter, you may want something like a Sekonic handheld light meter. I have a spot meter which is better suited for landscapes, but I tend to just use the handheld, this style smaller light meter, because it's easier for carrying around if I'm packing lightweight. So light meter, and then if you're shooting landscapes or in low light, as it seems to be getting in here, sorry if I've gone into the darkness. If you're shooting landscapes or low light, you may want a tripod and a cable release, so you can do kind of long exposures, that kind of thing. So tripod, carbon tripods are particularly good for travel because obviously they're much lighter. Just make sure it's strong enough to hold your camera. Heavy camera needs heavy tripod. And then the other thing I carry in this category is a notebook and pen. I like to jot down my camera settings, so then when I come to developing, I know what settings I used and what details I need to share on Flickr and for my own interest, whether I shot the lens wide open, stop down, with filter, without filter, etc. It got so dark I had to put a light on, so sorry for the changing in the way the lighting looks. Camera bags. I carry a main heavy duty camera bag with all my kit in, is my main bag. I'll then use things like these cubes, they're sometimes called, which is like a padded insert to go into non-camera bags. This one's made by Temba. If I can find a link, I'll stick it in the description. They are extremely useful. I use several of these, and then I can pack multiple cameras into a single non-camera specific bag. So Cube's really good and quite cheap from what I remember. I bought them a few years ago now. And then last year I wanted to share this because it's really good, and I've only just bought it. I bought it particularly for this trip for the need of, I wanted a super lightweight bag for small cameras. So shooting like M cameras, barn out Leicas, small 6x6 folding cameras, 6x9 folding cameras like you saw in my last video. I wanted a bag which would fit in these cameras and maybe to push something like a Mamiya 7 with a small lens on. So I did a lot of reading online. I didn't want a camera bag specific. I wanted to get an active bag which was dimensionally large enough to fit these cameras, and then I could put those cameras in padded cells in the camera bag. So I found an amazing bag. This is probably only interesting to you if you like jogging, running, cycling, or walking, I guess. It's good for a walking bag, but it's not a day bag because it's not large enough. Okay. I don't know if you can see that. I'm not even sure what the name was. It's about £25 from Amazon. I'll put a link in the description only because it's really amazing. Padded on the back with airflow, which is what I need if you're getting sweaty in the summer doing activity things. And then super slim line. It's really narrow. It's narrow kind of widthways, meaning if I want to use it on, say, a road bike and not feel that I'm carrying a parachute on my back, say you want to use a fast bike and you just want to get from A to B quick, and if you see something nice, take a picture. This lets me carry small cameras, as I say, like the little Barnex and whatever. without feeling like I'm carrying a camera bag on my back. A bag's a bag. It's got pockets and stuff inside. It's not padded, so you will need to pad it yourself if you're thinking of using this type of camera bag and wanting to throw it around. Personally, I put the camera in and I put the bag on my back, and so I don't really need much padding. I was carrying a Mamiya 7 and two 35mm Voigtlanders, also a Voigtlander and a Leica in here, and say bike toolkit and a few bits and bobs, and I was able to cycle around and get from location to location much faster and get the shots I wanted, rather than say walking, where it would take me much longer to get from say one side of a city to the other side of the city. So really amazing if you kind of like the same kind of stuff I'm into. If not, probably no interest. If you want a proper hiking bag, I'd get a heavy duty one where you're carrying like wet weather gear, all that type of stuff. One thing to add, it's got a bladder compartment, so you can put a 2-litre CamelBak in. You know, the thing with the straw where you can carry water if you're out for a long day. So these are popular things like mountain bikers. If you see them with a narrow bag on the back, they're often a similar style to this. Amazing bag. Sorry for the hard sell. I just get passionate about things that work and do exactly what I want them to do. And lastly, on bags, depending on the conditions you're working in, it could be really dusty perhaps, or it could be potentially really wet. So I use these kind of dry bags. This is an X-Ped, but I guess a dry bag's a dry bag, and I bought like them in 3 different sizes. I put these bags inside my camera bags, and then these are obviously waterproof, so then my beloved cameras are always safe if we suddenly get a European shower catch me out. So dry bags, really good to have inside your bags as just a backup. And then finally, I guess more obvious things, I use flat pack flasks for water, so I've always got water with me. I try to carry clothes to suit the conditions, so if it's hot, protection from the sun, if it's cold, protection from the cold, and sun cream, because I'm a pale skin type and I just go cooked really quick. And then basically I think of it, if I'm getting burnt to a crisp, I can't enjoy my photos, so I'm packing it from that angle. And also I get really obsessed in terms of I'll go off on my bike, planning to do maybe a few hours, and then if I see something amazing, I might be there for 5-6 hours. So I need to make sure I've got enough water, and the main thing for me is sun cream. And then obviously some food. I don't need to tell you what food is, but personally I use things like protein bars and stuff like that, and then high sugar fruit bars. And coming from like a triathlon background or enjoying some triathlon stuff, I tend to think of it more like that rather than a sandwich like most people. Pork pie, like, I don't know, packet of crisps isn't really going to help you on a day hike. So I guess although I talk mostly about cameras on this channel, I have a strong passion for kind of good eating and stuff you're not interested in. So I try not to mention it. But yeah, I try to pack for everything so I can enjoy my photography. Okay, is there anybody left? Did I tell you everything you already knew? Hopefully you found some small snippets of information which may have kind of made you think before your next trip, or maybe you're just amused at how complicated my life is, or how complicated I make it, and how simple it is to carry one fixed lens digital camera and an SD card and a spare battery. Make sure you take your spare battery and spare SD card. So yeah, sorry it's different from my usual gear reviews and pretty girl pictures. I've just come back from the trip, so it's still fresh in my mind, and I wanted to kind of share it because I'd forgotten things, and I wanted to help you guys not to forget things, especially if you're going somewhere important. Now, just quickly before we finish, you may have seen me put up on the community board on the YouTube page, I now have a live Patreon account, so feel free to check it out. It is in the early stages, so I only started yesterday, so it may look fairly empty at the moment. So feel free to come and join me and make me feel more loved, at least get my Patreon number above single figures, so then maybe others will then follow. Obviously there's no pressure to do so. I'm not going to stop my free YouTube content. It'd just be nice to make the channel kind of self-funding in terms of the subscriptions for all the different software, and then the buying the film camera and the microphone and the editing. Everything costs money, I guess. And then equally, if I can get good enough at this stuff to make it my kind of day job, then that'd be fantastic, and then I can give you guys like even more stuff. I'm only really limited by time at the moment. I have so many things I could share when I have time to do so. So it might seem strange for someone that shoots with Leica cameras to then ask for £1 donation to fund their channel. Yes, I appreciate that. I guess I just wanted to set up the Patreon partly so that if you do find value in this channel and you did want a way to say thanks, you can kind of support the channel for like as little as £1 a month. The lower tiers will give you access to loads of extra behind the scene content and stuff I've never shared on YouTube. I'll be posting new stuff every week, so you'll get more and more posts going forward. I've put 3 in at the moment, behind the scenes YouTube, how I shoot these videos, what's in my bag for July, and a Zoom video call model photo shoot, which was very exciting yesterday. So a behind the scenes clip of that. You can get all the extra content from as little as £1 a month. There are options to support the channel from £1 a month, £3 a month, £5 a month, and then the next kind of level is more benefits for more cost. So currently the early bird offer for £8 a month for the VIP Patreon, you get 20% off workshops, you get 20% off all my presets and any future products. And then the high tiers are more aimed at the people which contact me asking for kind of one-to-one tuition, workshops, that kind of thing. This will allow you to have remote access, monthly time with me, like a piecemeal workshop, so you'll have time to learn a bit, absorb it, learn a bit, absorb it. And being remote tuition, you won't need to fly over from Italy or America or where I've had people come from in the past. So it should be a much cheaper option. And you then get all the benefits of the lower Patreon tiers. So that's my checklist video and a quick overview of my new Patreon account. Sorry for the ramble and thanks for staying with me. Back to more normal for me videos soon. I've got some really current cameras in the pipeline, so stick with me, they are coming soon. They're booked ready and I just need to go test them. So looking forward to sharing that with you. Thanks for watching. Feel free to drop me a comment if I've forgot anything obvious on my packing list, or if you just want to say, why are you taking so many things on your trip? You should only carry one camera, or whatever your opinion is. Feel free to let me know, it's always interesting. And subscribe if you've not yet subscribed. This isn't a normal video currently, but if you like this type of content, let me know and I can do more of this type of thing in the future. And hopefully see you on Patreon soon. Thanks for watching.